I guess given that you're at this video, you're a school governor and you're either wondering what Teams is and how it might be able to help you, or your board is thinking about using Teams and you want to see some of the options that might be available to you. So I thought I'd do this quick introduction, which is using some example Teams, but based on the practical application that I'm using with my current Board of Governors. So first things first, the teams that are set up are to do with the committees mostly. So we have one for the main Board of Governors, and then we would have one for each of the committees under that. Now I've only done one example committee here, and the membership of these teams would be the membership of the committee. Though of course you may want to co-opt people in there as well occasionally. We've also got teams set up for specific roles on the board, which I'll come on to later. So I suppose the first thing I ought to explain is how Teams is structured. We have the teams set up for the committees. So within a team, you can then set up these areas of work, if you like. Microsoft call them channels. You will always have a general channel, which has information and discussions that doesn't fall into any of the other channels. But then you can set up whatever channels you want underneath that. And as you can see, I've picked some that we find are useful as specific areas to have discussions and to store files and what have you. So let's have a quick look at the board meetings one. Now, I suppose stage one is data storage. So I have a channel called board meetings, and I have a set of files organized by folder. You can set up new folders really easily just by clicking new. And within that, you would have the agenda, the minutes, any other documents that are relevant. So there's a single simple place to store all of your files for each of the meetings. I'll go back to board meetings, and you would have a list of folders just as though you're working on any computer, except of course all of these are shared and accessible on mobile devices as well as on computer, on Mac, on PC, wherever. So sharing of files, I guess, is the first big win. Second big win is conversations. So you would get a typically in a board of governors where you're distributed, maybe there's a dozen people, and somebody wants to have a discussion about something. They would email out a dozen people. They might get a dozen emails back, copied to a dozen people. Suddenly you've got 144 copies of emails kicking around, and that's just with one set of replies. So what we have here is effectively a chat app that you can start a new conversation and post something, and then everybody in the team can see it, and as you can see they can reply and what have you. So a single place for that conversation. It's all GDPR compliant. You're doing all of this within your security perimeter. So I suppose those are the two really quick big wins, are file storage that's then easy to share, and reducing email. And we've found that this has reduced the amount of email flying between governors enormously. So those are two really good wins. So what I think I'll do is just have a look at a few other facilities that we've built into Teams that may be of interest to you. So I'm going to go back to the general channel again, and you'll see tabs up here. Now these tabs are configurable, so the team owner can choose what they are. By default you get a conversations, you get a files, you get a wiki, which is an information resource if you want it. I thought I'd show you a couple of other things that we do that may be of interest. So for example, all of the contact details for all of the governors are available through Teams, and the reason for that is because this is a SharePoint list that's been set up and Teams can access it. And as you can see, there's a whole set of information about the governors, except of course I've just populated it with some random stuff. Another thing that you can do is you can actually display Word documents in a tab, so you can make those really easily accessible. So here's our pretend school improvement plan. You click on that and hey presto, the Word document opens and you can see it from within Teams. You've got a single app that's doing all of these things. One of the really underused features of Office 365 is OneNote, and that integrates beautifully in Teams as well. So here we have a OneNote notebook that's set up so that we can create meeting notes for each of the different board meetings if we want to. So again, you can put the same tabs in several different places. So if you want access to the same information from several sources, from several channels, you can do. That's not a problem at all. I think probably one of the other things that I'll just show you is on our training tab, we have a training survey that's available. This uses Microsoft Forms, completely integrated within Office 365 and therefore integrated into Teams. All you have to do is go to that tab and you can fill in the training survey and submit it. And obviously you can also display results in the same way on a tab. We keep our training records on another SharePoint list, so here's the training records, and we've got a set of columns that have been created: the course name, the date, the provider, the comments, and so on. And you can set up whatever columns you think are appropriate. One thing that I have found particularly useful is, if I just go back to the board meetings for one moment, you'll see there's a tab now here called Board Actions. This uses part of Office 365 called Microsoft Planner. And so you can set up a bucket of actions, and when there's a task that needs creating, we can set a due date and we can assign it to the clerk, for example, add that task. So this task is now sitting here in the planner. The person who's assigned to it will get emails reminding them to do it, and when they've done it, they can come in here and just simply tick it off as having been completed. So you never lose tasks that have been put in minutes, actions out of the minutes. It's very easy to review those in the meeting. In the meetings, I just simply put this up and say, here's the outstanding actions, where are we at? And what that does is it encourages people who have actions to go in here and complete them before the meeting, so that that question's then not asked. So that just gives you a little flavour for the sorts of things that you can do with Microsoft Teams. It makes collaborative working much easier. We haven't even touched on collaborative working on documents, but hopefully that will give you a flavour as to the sorts of things that you can do to help your board run more smoothly with Teams.